The giant cage trapping the witch was massive and completely sealed. Not a single sound could be heard from inside, and the air grew eerily still. A moment later, the witch inside, her eyes blank and staring straight ahead, let out a horrifying cacophony of ear-piercing shrieks. Reflected in her wide, unblinking eyes was the image of a wooden figure standing before her, arms crossed, its eyes glowing a menacing red. Ice energy erupted, condensing into a colossal ice giant hundreds of meters tall. It gripped the shrinking wooden cage, freezing it solid before shattering it to pieces. Yi. He observed closely and spoke up. He could hear the shrieks from inside the wooden cage. So damn loud. Does that thing inside really have no intelligence? Still, this kind of primal power is exactly what makes it so terrifying. Suddenly, he saw something that made him flinch, his eyes widening in shock. The primordial wood god descends. Yee! He looked at the ice giant, which was twice the size of Godzilla, and burst out laughing. Playing Gundam, are we? I can do that too! With that, it surged up from the frozen wooden cage, shaking the space around them like a catastrophic hurricane making landfall. He looked up in awe. Impressive. It can actually replicate the Ice Pengu? Instantly, he activated his opposing energy mode. His entire body turned pitch black, radiating an intense, scorching heat. Good. Then I'll just have to turn into something even stronger. Judo-Wii, Sun Wheel 1,000 Hands. The ground quaked as if an earth dragon were writhing beneath it. A pitch-black 1,000-armed Assura, several times taller than the ice giant, descended upon the mortal realm. The skull, engulfed in crimson flames, rattled its jaw and spoke, "Giant, let's have a real fight!" "Let's go!" The colossal giant stared wide-eyed at its opponent, its face showing clear surprise at the sight of a fire attribute Jue-Dui appearing right in front of it. At the Mester Federation headquarters, dead silence filled the room. The sight of these two colossal titans clashing was so overwhelmingly epic that not even movies could replicate. The commander fixated on Yi-Hee's appearance. Who the hell is that masked guy, summoning a giant hundreds of meters tall in the blink of an eye? Is this really a power humans can possess? Why isn't someone this ridiculously strong in our North Baydun database? The AI device replied, although there is no official record, other data can be used to identify him. Surprised, the commander asked, "Other data?" The robot projected a holographic screen and explained, "This is from when the three-headed beast Assura invaded Glacial. We captured this aerial footage over Huadu. It was this mysterious masked man who repelled Assura's invasion. According to intelligence provided by our spies, he belongs to an organization called Monster and goes by the alias Demon Child. There is an 80% probability that the incredibly powerful masked man before us is also from this organization." Hearing this, the old commander pondered for a long time, stroking his chin in thought. Monster, huh? Staring at the video provided by the robot, he cursed under his breath. Fuck you. I thought the North Baydun Federation was invincible. Where the hell did this overpowered superhuman organization come from? How could such a tiny place produce a powerhouse of this caliber? Back at the battlefield, the 1,000-armed Assura mercilessly bombarded the ice giant with hundreds of arms, continuously shattering its icy armor. Half of the ice giant's face and a massive chunk of its shoulder were blown away. Inside its head, a figure was exposed. It was the witch, poking her head out. Panicking over the damage to her body, the witch only knew that the intense heat was melting her ice giant, and she desperately needed to rebuild it. Now, all she could do was summon destructive elements to wreak havoc on her surroundings. Yi. He analyzed the situation. Is it because her IQ is too low? She has absolutely zero combat experience. She's just relying on her ability to regenerate massive amounts of elements to destroy everything around her. Looks like she's just a crazy kid blindly firing off weapons. Having seen right through his opponent, Yi-Hee decided to go all out and end the fight. Zhulong. A pitch-black wooden dragon sprouted beside the 1,000-armed Assura, engulfed in a massive roaring inferno. The fire dragon coiled in the air a few times before lunging straight at the witch. The witch thrust both hands forward, conjuring a ferocious surge of power as she opened her mouth wide and let out a deafening scream. She unleashed countless razor-sharp ice spikes straight at the fire dragon. It coiled up, taking the agonizing, piercing blows directly into its body as Yi-Hee's silhouette leaped off the dragon's head. Dashing forward at breakneck speed, he declared, "Zhulong can't break through the ice you created, but this is more than enough. Yi vaulted onto the head of the ice giant. Reaching out to grab her, he knew this was the perfect moment to subdue the witch. Thrilled, he lunged forward, reaching for that pale, freezing hand, and shouted, "You're mine!" Suddenly, a colossal wave of freezing current surged over the wooden cage. Mid-lunge, he was caught off guard by the terrifying power. His eyes widened, his face illuminated by the blinding, intense light. In a state of absolute terror, the witch had triggered a glacial nuclear explosion. The freezing energy erupted like a tsunami of light, sweeping across the entire space. The details on his body glowed, warping under the horrific pressure of the blast. The 1,000-armed Assura was frozen solid. The surrounding air seemed to freeze in a split second, only to be violently ripped apart. Icy mist and microscopic energy particles scattered wildly, creating a sensation that was bone-chillingly cold yet packed the destructive force of a nuclear bomb. Pieces of its body began to crack and shatter. The shockwave spiraled outward, bending space itself like a massive blade slashing across the battlefield. After taking the full brunt of the glacial explosion, the 1,000-armed Assura lost its majestic aura. The hundreds of arms that had once reached out like a nightmare were now frozen into massive blocks of ice. A dry crack echoed through the freezing void. Cracks spread like spider webs before the structure suddenly collapsed. Huge chunks of ice plummeted, crashing into each other with deep, muffled booms, kicking up clouds of ice dust and freezing vapor that billowed like smoke. Amidst the blinding white expanse, the ice and snow converged into a human silhouette. The witch smiled blissfully, preparing to fly into the atmosphere and freeze the entire globe, fulfilling the primal instinct of her bloodline. But in the very next second, a pitch-black, sinister dragon head abruptly materialized right in front of her, as if a fraction of time had simply vanished. The dragon opened its jaws and swallowed the witch whole before she could even elementalize. He stepped out of the time stop, placing his hands on the dragon's head. Devour, refine. The witch descended into a state of agonizing madness, her face contorted, one eye bulging wide with tearful panic, while her mouth gaped open, unleashing ear-piercing, "Ah! Ah! Ah!" screams that echoed as if tearing space itself apart. The pitch-black dragon head now acted as a colossal alchemy furnace, frantically roasting and refining the glacial witch inside as it soared upward. He felt the violent struggle of the energy waves. He raised a hand in front of his face and calmly shouted, "Teng Huo!" Ferocious flames erupted around the dragon's head, swirling streams of red-orange fire like molten lava. Its pure white, pupilless eyes flashed cold and soulless. As the flames blazed, the dragon's head flared out like a massive lion's mane, certain that his prey was securely in his grasp. He had completely figured the witch out. Her immense power lay in her ability to manipulate natural elements. Therefore, by isolating her from the natural environment, she became weaker than ever. Under the refining power of the intense heat inside Zulong's mouth, the witch's death was only a matter of time. Cut off from nature, she was nothing more than a fish on a chopping block. Another satellite spying on me? What a bunch of perverts. He scoffed coldly, shooting a deadly glare upward. I was busy dealing with the girl over here, but now it's your turn. Is using satellites to stalk people all you're good for? You damn peeping toms. Casually summoning a cosmic beam, he blasted the orbiting satellite to pieces. Watching the spark flare and fade in the upper atmosphere, his mood finally improved a little. He dusted off his hands and muttered, "The Godzilla Juedui I sent out should have swept through Tongzi Island and completely pacified the southeast region of Great Xia by now. These foolish jackals needed a little reminder." Cloud-turning technique? He raised his hand high, unfurling a massive swirling cloud of energy in the sky, glowing a fiery red like a blend of blood and fire. Dragon scales faintly shimmered within each vortex. He pursed his lips in boredom and remarked, "It's going to take a while to completely refine her. In the meantime, I should probably stay hidden." At the Long Quay headquarters, Nua's voice reported, "This concludes the full summary report for the headquarters." The commander, who had been continuously monitoring the screens, nodded. "Understood, Nua." He brought up the Southeast Triangle region. Their ambitions are an open secret, but relying solely on that bunch isn't nearly enough to shake Great Xia. The real issue is the power backing them from the shadows. Once Great Shy concentrates its military forces in the south, a certain country across the ocean will use freedom and democracy as a righteous excuse to deploy their troops. There are those lying in wait for the perfect moment, waiting for us to weaken so they can tear us apart. Beyond that, I honestly don't even want to think about it. Thank God a Godzilla showed up. I have no idea why that giant beast emerged from the sea to sweep through the Triangle region, but it definitely solved a massive headache for us. The most important thing is that the monster organization has made its move. That guy in the stone demon mask, the mysterious powerhouse capable of summoning that dark tree, actually killed the Ice Witch of the 21st century. There are so many headaches right now. Mysterious powerhouses keep popping up one after another, and no one can predict what the future holds. Meanwhile, the Godzilla clone had already wiped out the military bases in the Kimchi Nation, leaving the entire area eerily silent. Over in the Southwest Nation, the dragon's head was still burning fiercely. It coiled its neck and peered down. Yee! He opened his mouth. A thick fog blanketed the battlefield as a brilliant white mist spewed forth. An ice cocoon materialized. Under the immense pressure of the powerful energy, it cracked in half, revealing a pure white crystal radiating extreme elemental energy. Yee-hee blurted out, "Wow, peerless golden grade." Ice-tailed beast, successfully harvested. Yee. He stared at it unblinking, observing the brilliantly glowing little sphere with visible satisfaction. Yee. He soared high into the sky, looking down at the thousands of miles of ruins devoid of a single living soul. He felt no regret. If he hadn't acted, this hellish landscape would have unfolded in Great Shia. Alright, time to head back home. He cast one last glance and muttered, "If I hadn't stepped in, this living hell would have been Great Shia's reality." In an era where everyone is a martial artist, any civilian martial artist from the enemy's side will eventually become a dagger aimed at Great Shia. All I can do is level all their major cities. Many of the world's conflicts are simply unsolvable to begin with. Yi. He was the guardian deity of Great Shia's peace, but simultaneously the most bloodthirsty tyrant in the world. Now and in the future, the millions of dead souls crushed beneath his feet would harbor no curses, no resentment. I, Yi-He, won't argue or justify a damn thing. I'll carry this blood debt for the rest of my days. A cone-shaped cloud formed from a sonic boom as Yi-He vanished over the horizon. The foreign invasion had been crushed. Now, it was time to deal with the internal rebellion. As he sped through the air, his mind was heavy. During the Battle of Huadu, they had fled to save their own skin. According to the latest intel from Manhwa, Great Shia's Longquay had suffered catastrophic losses in that battle. Furthermore, the martial arts guilds across various nations had been severely weakened by their plans to reclaim Great Shia. The 9 families of Huadu were planning to seize this opportunity to consolidate all centralized power in the country for themselves. His resolve hardened. "You old bastards. It's time for you to crawl back into your graves and stay there. Don't ever come back to the mortal realm spreading your stench." After the Great Shia combat operation concluded, the martial arts universities began calling for teachers and students to resume normal academic activities. University students returned from the brutal front lines to enjoy the peace and tranquility of campus life. Once these students had experienced the cruel reality of the battlefield firsthand, where even breathing normally was a luxury for the weak, they threw themselves into even more rigorous training. Perhaps in this post-war era, a massive number of powerful pillars would rise from Great Shia's university generation. Although war was devastatingly cruel, it truly had the power to awaken humanity's resilience and potential. At Imperial University, a group of sophomores was excitedly gossiping. "Did you guys hear?" After defeating Assura's mask guy, a new mask guy showed up in the Southeast Triangle region. The Southeast Triangle region? Wasn't that where that savage monster Godzilla appeared? I heard that before Godzilla made landfall, they were secretly amassing forces under the guise of a military drill, but everyone knew their dark ambitions. The first student cut in. "Don't interrupt, let me finish. I'm sure you all know about the severe cold wave ravaging southern Huaxia these past few days, right? Let me tell you, that cold wave was man-made. I follow this awesome blogger online who often leaks insider info. This time, he posted a bunch of pictures on Twitter, including weather maps of the Southeast Triangle region and some other photos. One of them showed a white man and woman fuse together a famous ice mage from the Western continent. He was the one who unleashed the cold wave affecting the entire eastern continent. The other student's face flashed with anxiety. That strong? What happened next? The first guy replied nonchalantly, "What do you think? He died, obviously." This left his friend dumbfounded. Holy crap, you hyped him up all this time just to make him a stepping stone for someone else? He then pulled out his phone. Hold your horses. If I didn't tell you how insanely overpowered that mage was, how else could I emphasize the sheer badassery of the masked man who just showed up? Look at this. On the phone screen was an image of Yi-He in his thousand-armed Assura form, his entire body glowing a fiery red.